Hey there, good evening, everybody. It is 7 p.m. Wednesday night, and every week I am going to be here talking to you about the California Dream for All program. So I am super, super happy for everybody that is here. This is being sent on multiple streams, so depending upon where you're watching it, this is 100% interactive. So please, excuse me, post any questions you have at any point in time. If you're watching it recorded later, post your questions in the chat, or you can email us with questions. All of the information that we're talking about, you can access using the QR code or website link above. So it is californiadreamforall.info, or scan the QR code above, and you can get to all of the tools that I'm talking about. And really, that's what I'm going to use to guide you through the program this evening. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the third time in history that you've had the opportunity to access such a large down payment assistance program statewide across California. It's called the California Dream for All program. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about the program. I'm going to talk to you about how it works. I'm going to talk about what we look for in qualification. I'm going to talk about what the timelines are and how to get started in proceeding with this. So my time frame is as long as it takes to cover this. Probably at least 45 minutes, could be an hour or longer, depending upon any questions you guys have and kind of how long it takes to go through it. But this is designed to be a thorough, in-depth review. I'm doing it every single Wednesday night, 7 p.m. live, so that people can ask questions. You can go back and watch the recording later. Mondays at noon, I do a live stream that's more topical, more about specific topics about the program. But the Wednesday night is simply going to be a general overview about everything on how the program works, how to get into it, how to qualify for it, and make sure that it's the right thing for you. And so let's dive in right now and really start picking it apart. So this program came out in 2023. It came out as a program that offered you up to 20% of your purchase price as a loan, but it's called a shared appreciation loan. So the key, one of the biggest negatives to this program, is it's very expensive in the long run, very cheap in the short run, because you're getting a smaller amount of money you have to make a monthly payment on. If you went and did a traditional down payment assistance loan, what's happening is you're borrowing 97% of the purchase price. So think about it like you're buying a $500,000 home. Okay, you are basically getting 3% or $15,000 in assistance. You're making the payment on $485,000. But if you use this program, you're getting $100,000, 20% of the purchase price in assistance. You're only making a payment on $400,000. So a significant difference in how much you are paying in payment, because it's a lot cheaper monthly. But the state gets a percentage of the growth in value of your home. So the state will always get their money back. When they give you, they don't give you. When they loan you the initial money, that money is a loan. It is not a gift. It is not a grant. There is zero way out of paying it back. The problem, how people have talked about this, including myself to some degree, is we've talked about the fact that you have to pay it off when you sell or refinance for the second time. Well, that got people thinking, well, then if I don't ever sell and I don't ever refinance twice, I never have to pay it back. That's not true. You also have to pay it back in 30 years. When you finish paying off the big loan, you must pay the state back. And the state is always going to get their money. Now, there's a calculation on how much money the state is going to get, and I can actually show it to you in a couple of minutes. We're going to go through on my calculator. You'll see I've got a tool that you can have free access to that will allow you to see exactly how much money it would cost you to pay back later. That is the big negative here, is there's a significant cost to repay this down the road. Now, the cost is never going to exceed what your home value has. Let me say that in a different way. The cost is a percentage of how much the house has grown. So you're always going to come out ahead compared to the state. So although I said it's very expensive compared to the other ways to get down payment assistance, this program gives you the lowest monthly payments based on that purchase price, and you pay back a percentage of what the home price has gone up. So mathematically, If you bought a home for $500,000, you will get $100,000 from the state, 20% of the purchase price, up to $750,000. You then sell the house 5 years later, and the house is worth, at that point, $600,000. The house went up by $100,000. Then you are paying the state 20% of that dollar increase. Now, that 20% number is important to recognize. That matches how much they invested into your home. It's like if you had a rich uncle that says, hey, I'm willing to buy half the house for you. I'll pay cash for half the house. You make the payment on the other half. When you sell it, would you expect to get 100% of the profit? No. You only made payments on half the house. It would be fair if you only got half of the profits, and your uncle would get the other half because he's the one that wrote the check for half the price when you bought it. It's kind of the same deal with the state, with a couple exceptions. The state always gets what they put in originally. You don't. I have a client right now who bought a home. He didn't use me, he used the builder. So with new construction, it's a little bit, there's some incentives that builders will provide if you use their lender. And I'm the first one to say, look, you trust me, I'm going to take great care of you, but I'm not going to steer you wrong. You're better off going with that lender because they're giving you a bunch of money towards closing costs. So they went with that lender. They bought the home in March of last year. Well, in around June, a lot of new builders started lowering their prices. They had their prices artificially high, and they kept it high because people were willing to pay the higher price because the builders were giving you a lower interest rate. They were giving you a deal by offering you an interest rate that was below market, and they funded that by charging a higher price on the home. But as soon as the buyers stopped buying, the builders lowered the prices because they had to sell the homes. They can't sit on them like an owner and say, well, I guess I'll still live there, or I guess I'll rent it out. A builder can't do that. And so the builder ended up having to drop the homes last year. They bought this home. Now, this is the scary part, okay? They bought this home for $680,000. The builder is now selling that home for $590,000. Yeah. So when they bought the home, they basically put 5% down of their own money. That money's gone. Like the state, if they want to sell that home right now, they have to pay back the state what they borrowed originally, even though the price dropped. The state only gets extra money if the price went up. Okay, so the state does not share in losses, but the state shares in the gain. So that's the first negative. Obviously, I'm giving you all the reasons not to do it right now. Okay, so that's first negative. The second negative, the state doesn't share in the cost of selling the home. So if you sell the house for $600,000 in 5 years, you probably have to pay, let's call it 5% in cost to sell that home. So that means that you're paying maybe $30,000 to sell the home, but the state says you made $100,000. You're like, no, I didn't. I made 70 because I sold the house for $100,000 more than I bought it for, but I had to pay $30,000 in fees to sell it. The state says, I don't care. That's not my problem. I'm simply looking at what was the house value when you bought it versus what's the house value when you repay me. When you sell, when you refinance, or in 30 years when you finish paying back the mortgage, and you're going to pay me back 20% of that increase. So I'll run through the numbers again when I show you on the calculator, but that is the biggest negative of this program. But guess what? If you stay a renter, you don't get any appreciation. You're paying the payment to your landlord, and your landlord gets 100% of the appreciation. You get nothing. So I'd rather get 80% of something than 100% of nothing. And that's really where this program fits in. That's really where this program offers a huge opportunity for people that otherwise wouldn't be able to buy a home. Now, if you say, John, I can buy a home, I can come up with my own 20% down, then do it without this program. Because then you keep 100% of the increase in value instead of sharing it with the state. But some people still say, you know what, John, I'm not willing to put all that money out. I don't want to. I can have that money make money over here. That is fine. That is your choice. You are allowed to do that. You are allowed to say, hey, I don't want to use my money. There's no rule against that. There's no requirement to use your money, but there's a cap on how much money you can use in conjunction with this program. You can only use 5% of the purchase price. of your own money towards the down payment, and then you pay the closing costs. Now, the closing costs are another negative. Typically, when you do a traditional loan, you pay around 3% of the purchase price in closing costs. Closing costs range from lots of different things. It is the fee that the lender is earning. It's the appraiser's fee. It's the fee to the title company for title and escrow services. There's lots of things that come into closing costs, including homeowners insurance. Your first year of homeowners insurance is part of your closing costs. Paying a portion of your property taxes is part of those closing costs. So in general, on average, on a normal loan, not a Dream for All, you're paying around 3% of the purchase price towards closing costs. With a Dream for All loan, you're paying around 4% of the purchase price towards closing costs. The reason it's more expensive is because the origination fee on this loan is more expensive. Now, the simple reason why that is because banks make money in two ways. We get paid in upfront fees, and we get paid in interest over the life of the loan. Well, the problem is this loan is being sold to the state of California, and therefore the bank is earning no interest on it over the life of the loan, and so they have to make more money up front. So that's why it's around 4% of the purchase price for closing costs when you're using the Dream for All program. That's another reason why it is more expensive. And if you have the money to do it yourself, you might be better off without using the Dream for All program. So again, really important things that I want to point out. I don't want to sell you the glitz and the all the good reasons why you should do it without pointing out, look, there's negatives. This is not a magic bullet. This is not a gift or free money or a grant. It is none of the above. Now, it's an amazing program. So back in April of 2023, this money was a free-for-all. Literally, they threw the money in the air and said, whoever comes and gets it first gets it, kinda. So they released the money on March 25th, I believe. And by April 4th, it was 9 business days. 9 business days later, the money was gone. I helped 7 people capture the money within those 9 business days. There were a lot more I had that wanted to that couldn't because you had to get an offer accepted on a home in order to grab the money. And so they changed the rules. They came out with the program again in the spring of 2024, and they changed the rules, and those rules are the same rules that we're using now in spring of 2026. Now, mind you, that means that it's been 2 years since we released any money for this program, and you have a certain period of time to get into a lottery. So in 2024, that lottery happened in April, meaning you registered during the month of April of 2024. In 2026, this year, that lottery is happening, the registration for the lottery is happening between February 24th and March 16th. So between February 24th and March 16th, the portal will open on February 24th. You will be able to log in, create an account for yourself, upload the golden ticket is what I call it. So you will get a golden ticket from me after I review your income, after I review your credit, after I review your assets. We go over and run the numbers. You'll get a golden ticket from me. You will upload that golden ticket along with other items to CalHAFA's website and register yourself in their portal. Once you are registered in their portal, they close the registration on March 16th. Now they start running background checks on the winners. And you say, wait a second, John, what do you mean background checks on the winners? What are they looking for? Well, they're looking to make sure you meet the next rules that I'm about to talk about, which is that everyone on the loan has to be a first-time homebuyer. Well, what's the definition of a first-time homebuyer? Well, that's really great you asked that question. The definition of a first-time homebuyer is that you have not lived in a home owned by you or your spouse anytime in the last 3 years. So you say, wait a second, John, I got married a year ago and moved into the house my wife lives in. Then you're not a first-time homebuyer. Well, wait a second, John, I got divorced 2 years ago and my ex kept the house and I lived in it with them, but now I've moved out and it's been 2 years. You are not a first-time homebuyer. Everybody on the loan has to be a first-time homebuyer. And one person on the loan has to be first generation. What the heck is first generation? First generation home buyer is a better way to say that. So one person has to be a first generation home buyer. Now, let me explain to you why, and then I'll explain to you what. Now, I don't have all the details of why, but I've kind of filled in the blanks. I've watched a lot of the information that has come from the state legislature when they were creating this program. And essentially what they've said is, look, home ownership and becoming a homeowner is a lot easier when your parents are already homeowners, because they either have equity in their home they can tap into to help you with the down payments, or when they pass away, you get their home through inheritance, or maybe it's just the fact that home ownership, if you grow up in a home that was owned by your parents, then you're probably more likely to become a homeowner statistically. You can argue whether those things are true or not true. What I can tell you is the state made the decision. And the decision is they want to focus this limited amount of money on the people who don't have that leg up, on the people who do not have parents who are homeowners. Now, how do we define that? First of all, they made the rule very straightforward. There are 3 situations. Number 1, if your parents are both still alive, they cannot currently own a home. That's it. If they sold it yesterday, you're fine. There's no look back period. If they sold it a year ago, you're fine. If they paid off the mortgage, but they still own the home, you're not fine. Because it's not about whether they owe money, it's about whether they own a home. So your parents cannot currently own any property. If either of your parents are alive and they own a property, you are not first generation. But hopefully your cosigner, your spouse, your significant other, hopefully they do meet the first generation requirement. So that's the first scenario. The second scenario is if any of your parents are deceased, then they look back at when did your parents, at the moment that your parents passed away, were they a homeowner? If they owned a home at that time, you are not considered first generation. The third criteria is if you have ever spent any time in foster care. So there's a provision that says if the buyer spent any amount of time in foster care, and there's documentation that we would need to prove that, then it's okay if your parents are currently homeowners. Because, and again, I imagine the thinking is, hey, if you were spending any time in foster care, then there's some issues with the parental relationship, and so they're not counting on that parent giving you that leg up that somebody else might have gotten. I don't know how they come up with the rules. I just explain them. That is what the background check does. A lot of people say, John, I don't know who my dad is. I don't know if he owns a home. Well, Cal HAFA's rule says, to the best of my knowledge. So to the best of your knowledge, your dad doesn't own a home. But that's where the background check comes in. That's where the private investigation service comes in. That's where they dig to determine, hey, does this person in fact own a home? Do their parents own a home? Do they say they don't know who their parents are? Well, let's see if we can find out who their parents are. How do they do it? I have no idea. How thorough do they dig? I have no idea. But what I can tell you is you'll never know if they found out or not, because they're just going to say you are not selected. So what they do is they go through, and at least what they did in 2024, and I expect it to be the same this year, is they go through and they determine the number of winners they're going to issue vouchers to. Now in 2024, there were 17,000 people that entered into the lottery. There were 1,700 that got selected. And the winners are selected based upon the distribution of the state population. Now, I want to say that in a different way. Los Angeles County has the most people, the highest population of any county in the state. So they broke the state up into regions. Now, Los Angeles County happens to be a region, but San Francisco County is not. San Francisco is part of the Bay Area region, which is going to be San Francisco, San Mateo, Alameda, Santa Clara, Contra Costa, and Marin. Pretty sure I got them all. That is, Jose, I'll get to your question in a second. Guys, if you have questions about anything, post them into chat, whatever platform you're on, and I'll pull up the questions. So it's it's allocated by region. So your county may or may not be a region. San Diego County is a region. Orange County is a region. The Inland Empire is not a region. So San Bernardino County, why am I drawing a blank? The other county. Anyway, you know the Inland Empire if you're down in the LA area. So you are not your county is not a region. Your multiple counties are a region. Central Valley is a region. And then rural areas, kind of the everything else is a region. Los Angeles County in 2023, which these numbers have been updated, but I have not seen them. In 2023, Los Angeles County represented 25% of the state's population, which means 25% of the vouchers went to Los Angeles County. The rural counties together added up to 5% of the state's population. All of the rural counties, 5% of the state's population. Then 5% of the winners come from all of those counties. Now, that's where you live now. That doesn't matter where you buy. So you get a voucher based on where you live now. You can use that voucher any state, any county within the state, as long as your income is portable to that county. Now, what do I mean by income being portable to that county? If you are moving from Los Angeles to Sacramento, and your job is you are self-employed as a real estate agent. Well, can you become a realtor in Sacramento? Absolutely. But is the income that you earned in Los Angeles as a realtor a direct indicator of the income you're going to earn in Sacramento as a realtor? The answer is no. That is not a transferable job. Now, if you are a UPS driver in Los Angeles and you got a transfer to Sacramento and you're a UPS driver in Sacramento, absolutely, we can transfer and count your income here in Sacramento, but not your overtime, because we don't know how much overtime you're going to get in Sacramento compared to Los Angeles. Okay, so there's a lot of weird things to that, but I just want to be really clear that you can move anywhere you want. Your region where you live now determines which group you're part of for the allocation of the vouchers, but you can use the voucher anywhere you want. Okay, so Jose asks, hey, Jose, good to see you, my friend. What if I'm going through a divorce and her stepdad, what if I'm going through a divorce, her stepdad owns a home, her mom passed over 4 years ago. Okay, so I'm assuming it's you and her being the person you're getting the divorce from, or the person you're co-signing with. So post in the comments. I'll kind of talk about all of this and kind of what this could mean, but feel free to clarify. First of all, if you are, so there's two parts this can be referring to, Jose. If you're saying, hey, I'm going through a divorce and my ex-wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife and I currently own a home together, or she owns a home and I live in it, well, then that's the problem. So yeah, I see he's saying I'm divorcing her. So you're divorcing her and you're buying by yourself. Okay, I got it. All right, so going through a divorce, you're buying by yourself, then I don't care about her parents because she's not on the loan. Okay, so remember, two simple rules. They're not simple, okay? But two simple rules, which is every buyer has to be a first-time home buyer. First time says look backwards 3 years. Did you live in a house that you owned or your spouse owned? So Jose, if you guys, anytime in the last 3 years, lived in a house that your soon-to-be ex-wife owned, you're not a first-time home buyer. You can't use the program. Now, if you didn't, let's say you owned a rental property or she owned a rental property, no big deal, because the first-time home buyer rule simply says, every borrower, have you lived in a home anytime in the last 3 years owned by you or the person you were married to? That is the only part that you being married and going through a divorce, whether you're going through a divorce or not, doesn't matter. It's the only part that would impact you because she is not going to be on the loan. You just said you're buying a loan. You're buying by yourself. I don't want to say alone and alone because that means two different things. So you are buying by yourself. She will not be on the loan. So I don't care about her parents because she's not a borrower. Only one borrower. So if you're buying by yourself, it has to be you, Jose. Only one borrower is required to be first generation. Okay. So he says, I'm good, been married, separated for 10 years and haven't owned. Then you're beautiful as long as you haven't owned anything in 7 years at all, like anything. You can own a mobile home in a park. That's okay. But aside from mobile homes in a park, they don't count. The person who is first generation cannot have had their name on anything, even if you co-signed for your parents and your name was on the property for a day. If we find out, you aren't first generation. So the one person has to be first generation, and that first generation person has to meet all of these rules. They themselves cannot have owned or had their name on any property, any real estate in the last 7 years, and their parents must either not own a home right now if they're alive, not have owned a home when they passed away, or they themselves spent time in foster care. So Jose says he's good. I'm happy. Guys, I'm here to answer the questions live. I'm here to walk you through all of this. That's the whole point of why I'm here, and I'll go as long as we need to. So this is the basics of the program. Now, what happened in 2024, same thing that I expect to happen in 2026, is the state's going to do background checks. It took around 2 months for them to do the background checks. So if the lottery submission portal ends on March 16th, and I would expect that in the middle of May is about when we're going to find out who the winners are. Now, when you win, you get a voucher. That voucher says, I have money set aside for me. I have up to $150,000, and this is critical to understand. What you qualify for today is going to be written on your golden ticket. I call it the golden ticket. Cal Haffa calls it whatever. But I call it the golden ticket because it's a golden ticket. You can use that to get into the lottery. It's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I'm dating myself. Most people don't know that if you're anywhere younger than I am. But anyway, golden ticket, that's what you're getting. So you get that golden ticket. It's going to say a purchase price. It's going to say how much money you get that you can use in the Dream for All money. Those numbers don't matter. Yeah, they don't matter. What matters is what you qualify for when you have the voucher in your hand and you're writing an offer for a home. I have a client today that got an accepted offer on a home. They have a Dream for All voucher. I'll give you a better story. I have a client that I got a contract for last week on Friday. His voucher expires tomorrow. He was in the lottery in 2024. He got on the wait list. So what they're going to do is you're going to be one of three categories when they announce what the results are. You're going to be a winner, you're going to be on the wait list, or you're going to be not a loser. You're going to be not selected. So you were not selected. Those are the three categories. Okay. This client was on the wait list, and they were way down on the wait list, but it happened that the state allocated more money last year and they gave it to everybody on the waiting list. Yeah, that kind of stole some money of what they have available for you guys right now. But hopefully there'll be money they allocate this year that we can next year give to the people on the waiting list. So don't get too discouraged if you don't get selected. Now, don't get too discouraged if you're on the waiting list. If you're not selected, you don't have a shot. You have to wait until the next lottery. So this client got his voucher in August. You have 3 months to find a home. You're like, John, August was more than 3 months ago. I know you say you're good at what you do, but you kind of can't do basic math. Like, that's more than 3 months. Yes, I'm good at what I do, and yes, I can do basic math. What you're missing is the fact that Cal Haffa has given everyone an automatic extension of another 90 days. So it's 90 days to find a home. If you cannot find a home within the first 90 days, they give you 90 more to find a home. His 180th day is literally tomorrow. Literally January 29th was his last day to get into contract. We got him into contract last Friday. I reserved his money on Monday. Now we have time with the 30-day escrow. But if he cancels this transaction, his voucher is gone. Because he's canceling it now, there's not enough time to reissue a new voucher and go find a new home. So he's either got to close on this home or he loses his money. So ideally, you don't want to wait until the end, because if you find a home in the first month and you don't like it and you have inspection issues, you can cancel and you still have 5 months to go find another home. So that is how the program works. Now, how do you qualify for the program? That's what we're going to dive into next. So I'm going to show you guys right here. So first of all, this is the link. Scan the QR code up above or type in the URL up above, and you're going to get to this page. This is CaliforniaDreamForAll.info. This is my page. And so I've got a lot of great information on this page. What you're going to see, first of all, hey, you can register for the webinar. That is the webinar you are on right now. If you're watching this recorded and you want to join live next week, go here. You're going to register. Right now, you're registering for tonight. So if you click it right now, tomorrow morning, we will update it for next week's webinar. And you'll be able to live join next week's webinar and ask questions live, just like Jose has been asking questions today. So you can go there. But you can also scroll down and take a look, and you can try out my Dream for All calculator. You can schedule a call with me. So you can click right here and you can get on my calendar. Or if you're just ready to start right now, you can just click apply now up here in the corner. So you got all three right here. You can check out my YouTube channel. You can book a call. You can start out with my calculator. I'm going to show you the calculator right now. Or you can start the application process. If after tonight, you know, John, I'm doing this. Like, I've been watching you for the last 2 years. You're absolutely amazing. And you're my lender. I'm using this program. We are moving forward. Then skip directly to this step and just apply. You're going to input your information. You're going to upload income documentation. My team and I are going to review all of it. We're going to pull a soft credit check. There's a cost to the soft credit check. Credit has gotten super crazy. So we'll talk about all of that. And then we will set up an appointment once you're approved for the program to go through all of that. So that's the fast track. Now, right now we have time. Come March 14th, there's no setting an appointment with me. If you are watching this on March 14th and you have 2 days to get this done, don't schedule an appointment. Don't book a phone call. Don't play with the calculator. Apply now. Get it in there. Operators standing by. We have got to move quickly. If you want to get done quickly now, just start with the application. You're still going to talk to me. We're still going to go through your options. But I want you to focus on the calculator. So if I open up the calculator right here, this will take you to what I call my free or light version of the calculator. And it just says, hey, where do you want to buy? I want to buy in San Bernardino County. Perfect. What price home do you want to buy? I want to buy a $525,000 home. Beautiful. You're looking at, at that price. What the heck is going on with that? 10,500. Oh, because I said 52,500. Okay, cool. I'm like, how is it only 10 grand? Because I missed a zero. All right, so you're going to get $105,000. I built this entire calculator, and I'm like, wait a second, am I on live TV? And I just realized I screwed up my calculations. No, I just had a typo, missed a zero. So $525,000 home, you get $105,000 of assistance, and you make no monthly payment on that dollar amount. And this is showing you, hey, if you paid your 4% for closing costs, I told you in the beginning, closing costs are around 4%. If you pay your 4% in closing costs, you're coming up with $21,000 and your payment is about $3,300 a month. That's including everything. That is including principal and interest, property taxes and insurance. And it gives you a breakdown here of what we're looking at on interest rate and APR. But there's more, okay? Just like the Jinsu knife commercials when I was a kid, there's always more. So if you say, John, that's great, but I don't have $21,000. Thanks for wasting 40 minutes of my time. I'm out of here. For most people, we can get you in with zero money out of pocket. So there are more options available. You can get zero money out of pocket, or if you put more money out of your pocket, you could drop that payment down to around $31.25. Do you want to see if you qualify for this? Create your free account. Okay, so I'm going to go right here. I'm going to start over with a new one, and I'm going to call this test January. I'm just going to call that your name. And we're going to call it January@test.com. Phone number is optional. We'd love to have it so that we can connect with you. Let's just put in a really amazing fake password and create your free account. No, we're not going to save the password on this. And here you are, you're in. You're like, John, what do I do now? This doesn't make sense. I'm probably going to play with this page a little bit and make it a little bit easier and cleaner for you to understand. But basically, let's find out how much you can afford. So start with how many people are on the loan. I'm going to say one. Who is it? Well, it's you, of course. But let's get your name. And so this is January Test. That's my name. How much do you make? Before taxes from all of your income sources, how much do you make? Because there are income limits for this program. Okay. So I'm going to say I make $190,000. Cool. What's my credit score? Here's the deal with credit score. You need a minimum of 660 if you're low income. But for everyone else, you have to have a 680. And everybody on the loan, everybody on the loan has to meet that minimum credit score. So if together your income is above the low income threshold, then everybody has to have a 680. If together your income is below the threshold, then you can have a 660, but plan for a 680. And if your scores are all over 700, then you have the ability to spend a little bit more of your income towards the house payment and your other debts. And I'll explain all of that to you in just a second. So let's just say your credit score is 700. Perfect. So now we're going to go to the next screen, and it's going to verify the things I talked about, which is, hey, are you a first-time home buyer? What counts? No ownership in any principal residence, including spouse's home, during the last 3 years. It's actually written a little wrong. I have to change that because it's not about ownership. It's about whether you lived in a home that you owned or lived in a home that your spouse owned. So I got to rewrite that. That's a little bit wrong. All right. First generation says you're only one borrower needs this. Your parents don't currently own a home. You must meet all of these. No home ownership. You cannot have any home ownership in the U.S. in the last 7 years. And your parents do not currently own a home in the United States, or if you were ever in foster care or institutional care. So, and again, if your parents have passed away, then it's if they owned the home at the time that they passed away. Everyone must be, actually one person must be a California resident right now, and everyone must live in the home. You can't have a cosigner. You can't have somebody else who's co-signing for you on this program and is not going to be living in the home. So these are the rules. Everybody has to be a first-time home buyer. One person has to be first generation. One person has to be a California resident, and everybody has to live in the home. Those are the rules. So tip, all borrowers must be first-time home buyers and live in the home. Only one person needs to be first generation and or a California resident. And now you add your bills and you say, well, John, I have a car payment and my car payment is $500 and I owe $18,000. Okay, you're just doing this to get a feel. You can change this and name it. So this is going to be your Chase auto loan. Okay, so you're just giving me a feel for your math. Okay, you're giving yourself a feel for the math because this will run all the calculations for you. So great, we've added all your bills. And now it just wants to clarify a couple things. This is the last screen, I promise. Where are you buying? Like, not where you live. Where do you want to buy? So here's what's confusing. Your pool of where you grab the vouchers from is based on where you live now. But the income limits is based on the county you're buying in. And so if you said, John, I want to buy in Los Angeles County, and yeah, I'm looking for a single family home or a condo, you cannot buy multi-unit properties. You can't buy duplexes. You can't buy triplexes. You can't buy 4-unit properties. You can't buy 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Okay. You buy a single family home. It's okay for it to have an ADU. So you can buy a single family home with an ADU, but you cannot count rental income from the ADU. Okay. So single family homes only or condos. And then, hey, do you have a specific price in mind? Like, what price are you thinking? And you say, you know what? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe this price, or I'm thinking maybe this monthly payment, but I'll show you on the next screen. This is where it all comes together. So this screen says, all right, here's where you're at. You have 3 different scenarios. You have a specific purchase price, and you can plug in that price. You can have a specific payment, say I want this monthly payments, or you can say, I want to know the most that I qualify for. Okay. So here's the math right here. It comes out right here, and it says, hey, you will qualify based upon how much you make per month times a percentage. So if you're over a 700 credit score, you can have 50% of your income go towards your debts. If you're over 700, it's 50%. If you're under 700, it's 45%. So the credit score matters. And so you can go here into your profile and you can say, you can change what your credit score is. So I've got income, I've got credit and debts. And so if I make this a 699 and I go back to the calculator, it changes. I hope it did. 74.17. I guess I didn't pay much attention. 74.17 versus, oh, it stayed at 700. Why did it do that? 699. Why did you not save? Now let's go back. Now it's 66.25. Why? Because when you're under a 700 credit score, you can spend less of your income towards your debt. Now you say, John, what if I paid off my car? then instead of 6625, I go here and say, hey, let's ignore the car loan. It really belongs to my sister. She makes the payments. And so we're good. Great. Then I ignore that. Now you can spend 7,100 because I don't care about the car anymore. So this really will help you to figure out, what will I let you spend? This is what I will let you spend, not what you should spend. This is the most you will qualify for. Now, for some people, that number is less than what you are wanting to spend, because maybe you have a spouse with low credit and you can't put them on the loan and you can't count their income. So that can create an issue. And I'm an expert in talking through all of these scenarios. If you think, gosh, John, I make too much money, there's ways we can play with it, okay? There's ways that we can look at your income. I'm not going to go too deep into it today, but do not automatically assume I make too much money. But the calculator will tell you if you make too much money. So right here, it says, hey, the household income is above this county's Dream for All income limit. See what other counties where your income does not exceed the cap. So we know, so right here it says the Dream for All income limit for Los Angeles County is $168,000. But here's the trick. The trick is those numbers update every year in June. So maybe you make too much money for that county right now. So we put on your golden ticket, we don't put what county you're trying to buy in, but they won't disqualify you just because your income is higher than the income that your county you live in allows. So if you live in Los Angeles County and you make more than $168,000, well, guess what? I built my calculator really smart. And so, because I'm really smart. So I built my calculator to be able to tell you what counties will allow, and I thought about, can I make it geographic so it'll give you the closest counties to the one you picked? I didn't get that part figured out. I'm sure I could do it, but you can sort through, you know, what counties are where. And so you're looking and saying, okay, I'm in Los Angeles County. Well, Orange County allows up to $216,000. That's not that far away. I could buy in Ventura County. It allows up to $207,000, and that's not that far away. So I think I'm going to go north, maybe buy something in Ojai. So I'm going to pick Ventura County, and now we're good, because your income is less than the $207,000. Even if you left it as Los Angeles County, okay, it's not going to stop you from running the numbers. It's just going to warn you. It's just going to say, hey, you kind of got a problem right here, so you need to worry about that, but it's still going to let you run the numbers. And it says, hey, based on everything that we see, the max you qualify for, and it gives you 3 scenarios. Okay, 3 scenarios. This is built by me. I've run the numbers many, many times. I feel very, very comfortable that these numbers are accurate, but they're still estimated. Okay, it's still a ballpark. I'm using the math from CalHFA, their interest rates. I'm using the numbers you typed in. This is not a loan approval, all the legal speak. Okay, but what this lets you do is look at it and say, hey, column number 1 is the lowest cash to close. You could buy $1 million home, $1 million. You could buy $1 million home for $10,000 out of pocket. Okay, and if you want to see the breakdown, click right here and see the breakdown, and it tells you the monthly payment breakdown. It tells you the total cash to close. It tells you everything that you need to know. How much is a payment? What? 7 what, John? No, I'm not paying $7,000. Cool. Then you scroll back up here and you say, I want a specific payment. Yeah, I'm not going over $5,500 a month. Awesome. Then we scroll down and it says, well, if you want $5,500 a month, then if you want the lowest amount of cash out of pocket, you're looking at about $4,000, and you can buy an $823,000 home. If you're willing to put $43,000 out of pocket, you have about an $857,000 home. And if you're willing to put $80,000 out of pocket, that represents the most compared to the least out of pocket. Those are kind of the scenarios that I'm breaking down. Now, I want you to recognize something. I said earlier about closing costs, and that you can expect closing costs to be around 4% of the purchase price. But here's the deal. Right here, you're borrowing 86% of the purchase price when you are buying based on this scenario. The closing costs are higher because we are buying out of the mortgage insurance. Okay, so you have mortgage insurance as a one-time fee, and so the closing costs are higher. I'm estimating how much higher. It's just a ballpark number, but the closing costs, I'm ballparking typically it's closer to 5% of the purchase price, or maybe a little bit more, depending upon how high of a loan amount you're going with. Okay, so very simply, you get to play with all the numbers. You say, no, John, I found the perfect home. That perfect home is $750,000. What's that going to cost me? Well, here you go. You can put no money out of pocket, $0 out of pocket, and you are buying a house for $750,000. There's a lot of situations where we can get you almost no money out of pocket, even up to $1 million home. Okay, very, very little amount of out of pocket. Your payment is $49.25. If you're willing to put just your closing costs, just the 4% of the purchase price and closing costs out of your pocket, then your payment is $46.95. So this helps you to run all of the scenarios. And if you really want to customize it, click right here and it gives you a slider to drag it across, or you can type in the number and say, what if I gave $22,312.77? What's my payments? Well, it rounds it to $22,313. It says your payment is $47.88. Awesome. What if I put $56,917 out of pocket? Awesome. Your payment drops to $45.29. Like, you could put it down to the penny. There's kind of no point in doing that. Okay. So these scenarios, the 3 options is what's most common. And there's reasons for it. And I'll get into all of that when we meet. It's all about strategy. So don't take this and assume, hey, I know how to do it now. There's strategy behind this. I helped 7 people in 2023. Since 2024, I have helped another 48 families take advantage of this program. In the last 2 years, 48 families take advantage of this program. I have 2 of them in escrow right now, and I have 3 more that are out shopping to try and find a home before their voucher expires. The last of the voucher holders have until February 18th to find a home, which is not coincidental that they start your lottery on February 24th, because they're going to know by February 18th how many people are using the money from the last lottery. So they know how much money is left over for you, and they know how many vouchers they're going to be able to provide. Now, I want to give you a few resources here. There's a lot of information here. Once you're in my calculator, if you haven't started the application process, click here, start the application process. That's what's going to get you the golden ticket. Okay. But in here, I've got a lot of resources and FAQs. And so you got a lot of information, Cal HAFA's websites, etc. But what I want to show you is a couple of things right here. County limits. You're like, John, I don't understand what the county limits are. I've got all of this for you. Now, this one, you can click on any one of these to see specifically, like, I just want to see the Dream for All income limits. Great. Here's the Dream for All income limits alphabetically. If you want to sort by income limit, you can do it this way. Santa Clara County is the highest. You can make $309,000 in Santa Clara County. And I think I said it earlier, but I didn't finish the thought thoroughly. Everything that you qualify for is based not on what you qualify for now, but what you qualify for at the moment that you're using your voucher, which I have people using their voucher right now almost 2 years after I talked to them for the first time. And the income limits have changed twice. Every June, the income limits change. Now, I didn't say they go up. They did go up twice, but that's coincidence. They are based upon what the average median income is in that county. And the federal government publishes it in May. Cal HAFA updates it in June. So you may say, hey, I make too much money for this particular county. Well, if they raise the limit, maybe you don't make too much money. You may say, I make the perfect amount of money for this county, and then you get a pay raise. I can't ignore the pay raise. Now, there's parts of your pay that we can ignore. And I'll go into that. I've got videos about that. I'm not going to go into it all tonight unless somebody has specific questions. But I can kind of use Legos when I look at how your income comes together. I look at it very different than you think. I don't just take what's on your tax return. I don't take what's on your W-2. I don't like we're basically trying to predict the future, looking at the current and the past. And I'm not going to take the time tonight unless people have specific questions going into that. I've got other videos on my YouTube channel. If you have not seen my YouTube channel, you can see it right here. Click on right up here on YouTube and you get to my YouTube channel. And all of this has videos of me talking about the California Dream for All program. So you've got all of the income limits right here. You can see, hey, John, you said that there's some benefits. I can have a 660 credit score if I'm low income. Well, this 80% AMI, that's low income. So if you are under that, you get to have only a 660 credit score. If you're above that, you have to have a 680. Here's all the counties and what's considered low income. And you can look up your county and say Los Angeles is $90,800. And so if you make over that, then you're considered regular income, as long as you don't make over the Dream for All limit for Los Angeles County, which is $168,000. So this really helps you to be able to look at all of those scenarios. And then the other thing I want to show you in the resources is the payback calculator. So the payback calculator, again, it's something that I created. And this allows you to kind of model this and say, wait a second, what is this going to cost me if I sell or refinance later? And this walks you through, hey, I bought the house for $680. My first mortgage was $480. This was my interest rate. This is how big my second mortgage was. Perfect. And then what is it going to cost you to sell the house? How much are you going to pay in fees to sell the house? You can change this. You can say, hey, I'm going to pay 5% or something less, whatever it is, or something more. And it calculates for you. You say, when are you selling? So I'm selling in 10 years. Well, if the house, by the way, in California, if you Google it, the average appreciation over the last 30 years has been around 6% per year. That includes 2008, 9, 10, and 11, and 12, when prices were dropping every one of those years. They've overall come up an average of 6% per year. Matter of fact, prices were back up to 2006 levels by 2016. There's never been a 10-year period in time ever in history of the numbers we've recorded in house prices where prices were lower 10 years later. Okay, there's never happened. That doesn't guarantee what the future is going to bring, but it says, hey, if your house appreciates 3% per year and you sell it in 10 years, you bought it for $600,000, but in the future it's worth $806. So you've increased $206 and the state gets 20% of that. So the state gets $41,000 in additional appreciation. So you're going to owe them the original $120 plus $161,000. Okay. And then you can have kind of the full breakdown of how all this goes, because here's the truth. You've paid down on your mortgage. So you've paid down. Your balance on the mortgage went from $480 to $406. So you're going to get $197,000, even though you're paying back the state $161. If the house value went up 3% per year for 10 years, and then you sold it, you're going to walk away with $197,000 after paying the commission for selling the home, after paying back the state. This is where people say, oh my gosh, it's a horrible idea. You shouldn't do it. Okay, well, I don't know about you, but staying a renter for the next 10 years, you're not going to see $197,000 in your pockets. Okay, and if it goes up by 6%, like it typically has gone up, $400,000 in 10 years. You say, John, I'm not staying there for 10 years. I'm out of here in 5. Awesome. If it went up by 6% per year, it's $153,000 in your pocket after paying back the state. Okay. So you can also just plug in a specific future value and say, hey, if the house is worth at the time I sell it, $775,000. Okay. I tried to build this as thoroughly as I can. Hopefully you can play with the numbers, get to understand it all. Guys, here's the truth. I'm giving all of this away for free. Like, I'm giving you all of the information. I've had so many people who have thanked me for helping them. They've said, so many people have said on my YouTube channel, John, I wouldn't have been able to make this purchase happen without you and your YouTube channel. Let me be clear. I appreciate that. I am really happy. I also have 3 kids that are about to go to college. I don't get paid by YouTube. I get paid by doing mortgages. So if you think that I understand what I'm talking about, I do. These tools prove to you I built all of these tools myself, because I have a thorough understanding of how they work. It's not about the tools, it's not about the magic, it's not about any of that stuff. It's about you being able to trust that you're in the right hands, and you are in the right hands with me. But let me be clear. I get paid for doing mortgages. I am interviewing right now to be your lender. And so I need you to scan that QR code up there. I need you to go to that link. I need you to come here, and I need you to book a call with me. I need you to apply and start the process. I am interviewing to be your lender. I don't just do these loans. I do all types of loans. I'm here to help you refinance when it's time to refinance. I have been doing this for 26 years. I plan on doing it for a lot longer. Okay. I'm here for at least another 15 years. So I am in this for the long haul, and I'm interviewing to be your lender for the rest of your life, whether it's this transaction or something else. So if you use me for the information and you buy with somebody else, that's great. I am happy for you. But I want to be really clear. I don't make any money off of YouTube. I get paid in helping people do mortgages, and I am interviewing for the opportunity to take great care of you and taking care of your mortgage. So guys, that's it for everything that I wanted to talk about today. We've got about 20 people right now across different platforms that are watching this. And I have a bunch of people who are going to be watching recorded. As we get closer to the portal time, it'll grow. I'm doing this every single Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I think there might be one week that I'm out of town, but I'll be doing it every single Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, giving you all of the same thorough information, answering your questions. Mondays at noon, I'll do a live stream that dives into detail on stuff. For example, I'll talk about how we look at income and how we look at income in different ways, because really there's a lot of misunderstanding out there. There's lenders who don't understand it. There's people who have been led the wrong way. And I want to make sure that you get the opportunity to get into the lottery. The final thing I want to make clear, and I've said it a couple of times, the golden ticket that we give you right now, all that matters is you got the ticket. It doesn't matter how much you got the ticket for. I have some people who are self-employed, who know that they write off a lot of expenses, and it shows that they have very little profit. Well, guess what? There's a rule that says I can get you a home using 1 year of tax returns, 1 year of your business income, as long as you've owned that business for more than 5 years and you have good credit. So guess what? We can use this year's tax return. So my number one advice for anybody who's self-employed, do not file your taxes until you talk to me and show them to me. And I might tell you, file them right away. I might tell you, wait, do not file them at all. I am really good at taxes, and I want to help guide you through that. But sometimes I'm saying, hey, I have a client right now. I gave her a golden ticket the other day. She's qualified in Los Angeles to buy a house for $300,000. Do you think that there are $300,000 homes in Los Angeles? Lorena says thank you, and Lorena says she is waiting for her golden ticket, and we're getting them out right now. So we've already started issuing some yesterday. We'll have all of them out to people we've talked to already before the end of the week. So thank you for your patience. But I issued the golden ticket for somebody the other day at $300,000 in Los Angeles County, and there's nothing out there at $300,000. But we have a strategy that by the time they get their golden ticket, they're going to show more income on their taxes. But here's the cool thing. If they don't get by the time they get their voucher, okay, doesn't matter what your income is at the time you get the golden ticket. What matters is you are legally qualified for a loan. Doesn't mean you can find a home at that price, but it means that you are legally qualified for a home. Lorena, you're very, very welcome. Thank you. So why am I saying this? Because I might give you a purchase price on your golden ticket way less than you think you can find. Don't give up. We can add people as co-signers as long as they're going to live in the home. You just can't delete the person who is the first generation home buyer, but you can delete somebody else. Things will happen. We might have issues with credit score. I'll help you work through it. We'll work on getting the credit score up high enough. We'll have a game plan to pay down debt to get you qualified for a higher dollar amount. So there's a lot of strategy here on what is the minimum that I'm required to do in order to get you into the lottery. And even if that doesn't give you the dollar amount that you want now, we likely have a game plan that we will discuss that says this is how we're going to get there. And if we get a lottery ticket, if we get a voucher, then we can execute that game plan. So there's a lot of strategy here, and I am an expert in this program. I've had this YouTube channel for the last 3 years. I have really spent a lot of time understanding this program thoroughly. To be honest, I've never met a loan officer that's done anywhere near the number of these that I have done. I understand them thoroughly. I've done a whole bunch, and I want the opportunity to guide you. So please scan the QR code up above or go to the link, click the links across the top, book a call, or just start playing with the calculator. At the very least, run your numbers. And then if you have questions, schedule a call with me. And if you know that you want to get started, then click apply now. You can schedule a call with me and do the application while we're waiting for that call to happen. It doesn't matter. The point is the application is what's critical ultimately to get you your golden ticket, which we have to have so that you can get into the lottery, because the lottery opens on February 24th and the lottery closes on March 16th. And we are not going to have another lottery at least for a year, because the money is released. The money is allocated in July. Every July 1st, the state government creates and finalizes their budget. And so the government will finalize their budget on July 1st, and they will say, this is how much money we're allocating towards this and towards that. And we will know in July of 2026, in 5 months, we will know if there's money for next year. But if there's not, then we won't know until July of 2027 if there's money for the year after. The most important thing, do not miss out on the opportunity to get into the lottery. And the credit and income review is critical to do early, because some people I'm talking to now, we've got work to do. We've got things that we have to fix. Okay, things can go wrong in the transaction as well. I've got another client who is in escrow right now, and we barely got it done because there was a collection that popped up on their credit report that wasn't really their fault. They turned in a car as a lease. And when they turned it in at the end, they signed off on it and said, yeah, everything's great. You don't know anything. The car's in great shape. And then 2 months later, the client gets an email or letter that says, hey, you owe $500. There was a scratch on the car. And I feel the same way. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, somebody else scratched it after. I dropped it off. I got the piece of paper. You said I'm fine. I'm not paying for anything. They put it on his credit report as a collection. Dropped his score from over 700 to the low 600s. Okay. And then they got a voucher. They were on the waiting list. They got their voucher. We've been fighting for the last 5 months to get that fixed and get their credit score back up. So when I say we can solve things later, this guy literally applied in February of 2024. We are in January of 2026, down to the last days of him having time on his voucher, and we got him a home. He's in escrow. He's going to become a homeowner. It's an amazing opportunity. And that's the challenge with this program. And the beauty of it is it's all about strategy, and it's about timing, and it's about having the right team on your side. So I am interviewing to be your lender. I have great realtors up and down the state that I can connect you with. And so we can get you your dream team that you need in order to make your dream home ownership come true. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you listening tonight. If there's any other questions, post them right now, because I'm about 30 seconds away from ending this. But remember, it's about starting early. Even if you think everything is fine, now is the time that you want to get moving forward. Nino, I appreciate you joining. Hopefully we can connect soon. I appreciate your text earlier today. Guys, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. It is not free. It is not cheap. There's a huge cost, but there's a huge benefit. And it's about what is the right option for you. And if this isn't the right option for you, I have all of the other options that are out there. And I help people all the time. If you don't get a voucher and you say, you know what, John, I wasn't selected, I'm never going to become a homeowner, you'll be surprised how many people that started out in this program and then they ended up saying, you know what, John, I'm going to buy anyway. Michelle, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. We'll be talking again soon as well. I feel like Mr. Rogers. And you little boy over there. Again, I'm dating myself. Probably half of you don't know who Mr. Rogers is. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Please share this information with everybody that you know. It is counterintuitive, because the more people in the lottery means your chances of winning go down a little bit. But wouldn't you rather have you and your best friend in the lottery, and one of you between the two of you got a great chance to win? And so share this information. Jose, I'm looking forward to talking to you. Thank you so much. Please reach out. And guys, have a wonderful evening. I'll be here next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Tell all your friends about it. Have them register. The link will be here. Just don't register tonight, because tonight it'll bring you back to this webinar. But tomorrow we'll have the link changed. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.